Welcome Schuko and Tin Toy fans. This is the Tin Meister, and today we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to be talking about Schuko, very much at least. We're going to be talking about the Distler Electromatic 7500, the Distler Porsche 356, and it was originally made in Germany from 1953 to 1968. This is the earliest example that I have, and we'll get into the differences. So you can see that this Porsche Cabriolet model is tin, completely tin. There's a little bit of plastic, but almost all tin. And all the models of this car have about the same thing. They have a removable ignition key. We're going to show you a close-up of that in just a moment. They have steering, and they have a shifter that goes from neutral to first to second and also into reverse. And if you move the grille on the back of the car here, move it down, you can take off the boot, and that gives you access to the battery compartment. And this particular car, this early car, had a flat 4.5 volt battery, which I can't seem to find anymore, but I'm going to show you a solution to that in a little while. And here's the bottom of that early car. See the flat battery there? And that would fit right into that area right there. So the bottom of the car says made in Western Germany, Distler, the Distler Electromatic 7500. And note that the bottom of this car is flat. The earlier cars were flat bottoms. Later ones had some bulges and folds. You'll see that in a moment. So let's take a look at the next example. This is a little bit later. Still, it has the tin headlights. The early one had tin headlights. This one does too. Pretty much the same. And again, it's the same, pretty much the same interior. It's got the ignition key, the shifter, and the steering. And if you slide the grille down, that will release the boot, and that gives you access to the battery compartment. And in this car, it's a little bit later. It actually has two round D cell batteries. So if you get one of these cars, you can just go down and buy some D cell batteries and make it work. And here's the bottom. Notice it shows two D cell or two batteries, 1.5 volts, and Distler, so on, made in Western Germany. And note that this bottom is not just flat. It has some folds in it and some bulges. See that you can barely see it, but it has bulges in the back there and the bottom, excuse me. And this one's a little later and has a couple of little differences in it. The front end is a little different in that it has plastic headlights with chrome surrounds. The rest of the body is pretty much the same. It has the grille, of course, that you pull down to release the boot. There's the ignition key, the shifter, and the steering wheel. So all that stuff's about the same. You take off the boot. A little tough on this one. I haven't actually refurbished this car. I'll probably do that in an upcoming episode. And then you can see the interior battery compartment is the same as the one we just saw before, where it would have two D cell batteries. And the bottom, made in Western Germany, Electromatic 7500 Distler, pretty much the same, and the bottom does have those bulges and folds. So let's take a look at some of the stuff that would have come with your toy. Here's the box that might have come in. This is not the first generation box. I think this is about the second generation. It shows the two batteries. And FS stands for remote steering in German. And I'm not going to try to pronounce the word in German. And has some nice graphics of a Porsche 356. There's the batteries. There's how you put it in. and more nice graphics. Oh, and by the way, that red little dot there means that that box contains a red car. Here's the remote steering. And they came with these. After the very first generation, they came with the remote steering, and that cup there would fit on the steering wheel, and the little stainless metal part would fit on the shifter, and it would stick on there. That one's a little bit too old to actually work, but if once you get it on there, then you can use the red part here to steer the car, and the black one you would turn to shift the car. Pretty clever, pretty clever. Very popular car. It sold more than 1 million copies. So here's what I do. Here's a solution I found for that flat battery. You can buy these on eBay or on the internet, and they come from Germany, and they're made by a company called Kahler, K-A-H-L-E-R. And if you're looking for it, if you could just search for Kahler 60898. That's 60898. It has 3 AAA batteries to equal 4.5 volts. And it fits in just like that, and it works great. It just takes 3 double A's. Yeah, sorry. 3 AA's. Fits in just like that. And we're going to show you how it works in a little while. Take off the boot, and remember, always take batteries out of your cars, guys. Don't ever leave batteries in those cars. That's what ruined probably half the cars that you see nowadays, that the batteries just drained out. So there's a close-up of that special battery box that you can buy. They're not very expensive. I think they're around $6 or something of that nature. So here's an example of the instructions. And one of these cars came with this set of instructions, which are kind of interesting because this is earlier instructions show that it had a flat battery, but they must have changed right in the middle when they were making these instructions, and they stapled in the new battery configuration with the round batteries. There you go. And as some of you probably figured out by now, I'm a big Porsche 356 fan. And on the back of these instructions it says, car is constructed on the same economical and efficiency principles as the famous Porsche automobile. Here's a close-up of that key. Notice the Shell logo. And here's a picture of the 2 D-cell batteries in the later model. So here is what the car was based on. This is a Porsche 356. Early one, where the bumpers are attached to the body. So later Porsche 356s had bumpers that were not attached directly to the body. They were set away from the body. So only the very early cars had bumpers like this. Notice also that the parking lights in the front are similar to our Distler car. The Distler car has a chrome windshield, removable. The Porsche Cabriolet does not. The Porsche Cabriolet's windshield is part of the body itself and the same as the body color. So they took some liberty when they did that car at Distler. And now we look at a photograph that came from a Porsche factory calendar. Notice the little boys holding a Distler 7500 Porsche. Pretty cool. And the older fellow has his matching real Porsche 356, although that Porsche 356 is much later than our Porsche car. So let's take a look and see how the Porsche Distler, or the Distler Porsche, works. We get down on the floor on my knees, and we've taken off the boot, and there's the battery box that we talked about a little bit earlier, and there are the batteries inside, the 3 AA's. Well, I have a hard time with that one. 3 AA's. There you go. Click it together, Tin Meister. Put that in. Put the boot back on. Slide up the grill and put in the ignition key. I'll steer it all the way to the right so it'll go around in a circle. And there it goes on low speed. First gear. Now let's try it. Now we get it better into the camera there. We're going to put it into high speed here, high gear. So that's second gear or high gear. And let's now put it into, what are we going to do? I guess we're going to go to neutral. Now we're going to go reverse. And with that remote steering mechanism that we looked at, that would have been a lot of fun for a young boy to play with, or girl, of course. Now it's in neutral. We take out the key. You can hear the motor winding down. It doesn't just automatically just stop, it winds down. Push back that grill and take out the battery. And there you go. So now let's take a look at a modern replica of the Distler 7500. This is made in the last few years. Some of these models were sold directly by Porsche. You could actually go to a Porsche dealer and buy these models. And it would come with a little bit different wrapping on it. But see, now it's made by Schuco. See, I told you I'd go to a little bit of Schuco today. And it's a pretty good replica of what the car originally was by Distler. Now, when Distler went out of business in about 1962, and a Belgian group bought it, and under the name of Distler Toy, but it's a different company, and they made a model very similar to the earlier Distler car. And that car, but you can tell those cars because they have plastic bumpers and a couple other minor changes. Their license plates are a little bit different. And this car, this replica made by Schuco, is very, very similar to the Belgian cars. I'm not sure exactly when the Belgians built those cars, but somewhere between about 1962 and 1968. But this one is much later. I think they may still make this car. I'm not sure about that, but I know you can see it for sale fairly rapidly or easily on eBay and other places. Even some Porsche dealers have them. So this is a replica of the Distler car, and this is a Polizei car. Notice the license plate DT 7500. Distler 7500 Polizei. And also we're going to get into how the rear end, see the plastic bumpers there? Very much like the Belgian models. And this model is actually a model of a little bit later Porsche 356. More like a Porsche 356A car for those of you who know what those are. So the early car was designed after a car that was probably built, the Porsche car that was actually built in about 1952 or around that area. And this one's probably built on a Porsche car that's built in about 1955 or 56. And now it has small batteries that you can put in there, not the big D cells. And there it says Distler, and underneath my finger it says replica, but under right there it says made in China. So I'm glad they put replica on it, so those people who don't know exactly what they're doing. Notice, oh, by the way, the license plate has, or the hubcaps have a Porsche insignia on them. It comes with a key very similar to the original key. Comes in a very nice box, by the way. And here's the remote steering. I don't think I've ever used this one, but same function, same exact function as the original. Now here's a picture of a little bit later Porsche 356 Cabriolet. Notice the tail lights are different than the early car. The bumpers aren't directly attached to the body. So in my opinion, this is pretty much what they based it on, the newer car. So let's compare a replica to the original cars. Notice the front end is quite different. The hood on the replica has a Porsche insignia on it. The old one does not. The rear end has different tail lights, and it has the bumpers. So those are the tail lights, beehive tail lights, and the other one has a very early bumper attached to the body. So that's it, folks. Thank you for watching our little video about the Distler 7500 Porsche 356, a very famous model. If you're a Porsche 356 owner, you really want one of these models, I can tell you that. So until next time, thanks for watching, and if you stood around this long listening to me, I really appreciate it. If you like it, thumbs up, and also if you consider subscribing, that would be fantastic. Good night, everyone.